It's the most wonderful time of the year. Hey guys, it's Aaron back with another review for you. Today is day 18 of my Halloween month, and today I'm going to be talking about the film Hellraiser. So I've got my notes. Let's dive right in. Yeah, I threw in pins in my head if you couldn't tell. I don't know if that was really, a good thing or not, but Pinhead, haha. Anyway, Hellraiser, released September 10th of 1987. Directed by Clive Barker, starring Ashley Lawrence, Andrew Robinson, Claire Higgins, Sean Chapman, and Doug Bradley. The plot is a mysterious puzzle box summons the Cenobites, a group of extra-dimensional sadomasochistic beings that can't differentiate between pain and pleasure. So, and that's the thing too. Not only does it not differentiate between pain and pleasure, they don't really seem to differentiate between anybody specifically, because there's multiple times in the series and in this film too where Pinhead. And I just want to clarify something real quick. In this film, actually, Clive Barker never was a fan of people calling him Pinhead, Doug Bradley's character, because in the film, his character's name is actually just Lead Cenobite. He doesn't really have a name. None of them do. And so he, like I said, I mean, and don't get me wrong, I'm not going to sit here and scold. I call him Pinhead. I'm not going to scold somebody for it. I just wanted to clarify that, yeah, it was. Yeah, he was never considered Pinhead. He was always considered the lead Cenobite, and because it's based on the Hellbound Heart by Clive Barker as well, the novel. And so, first of all, it's his thing, so he's allowed to say whatever he wants. And second of all, I think to be, even if another director was doing it, I think to be accurate, I'm sure in the novel he's called the lead Cenobite. I've never read the novel, but anyway. So yes. Um, so right off the bat, there was $1 million budget, which back in 1987 I think was massive. But the cool thing about it is it really shows in this film. There's the CGI. It seems to be the little that there is, because it seems that there's a lot of practical effects, which I've said before and I'll say it again. I love practical effects. CGI is fine if it's done right, but I don't like over amounts of CGI. And practical effects in this one is awesome. It's some of the best effects I've seen in a horror film. I think I said that recently about something else, but it's very, very good. So now it depends who you are, because I noted something. Roger Ebert called this the bankruptcy of imagination, which I find that absurd, because even if you don't like the film, imagination is stuff that comes from your mind. Things that you are making up. It's in your own mind. Especially if it's your creation, you're allowed to do whatever the hell you want. I don't see where there isn't imagination in this film. And quite frankly, all of the Hellraiser films. This is just the first one, but I love Roger Ebert, and I think he has some very, very valid points on many, many things, but I don't get that one. I just don't. And it could just be a horror film bias. I don't know enough about his preferences. Maybe he just, like a lot of people do, they just hate horror films and they're crazy. But anyway, so uh little production note: during production, Doug Bradley had trouble hitting his marks during his makeup takes, and he couldn't see the through the contact lens that they have, because it's all black. And he was afraid of tripping over Pinhead's skirts, because he's got that nice like duster skirt thingy going on. And he had, I guess, a hard time seeing stuff, which it makes sense, because in the film and all the rest of the films, if you see Pinhead, or the lead Cenobite, move around, he really does kind of have like a slow kind of gait going to him, and it's a very nice. It's kind of like a suave thing, but when you hear that in the production, you're like, oh, okay, that makes a lot of sense, especially when you see the way he moves. Another thing, this film is actually, I know I mentioned her name already, but this film is introducing Ashley Lawrence. This was her first film role. And she does a great job. She really does. She gets the horror girl scream, does great. And she's a good buffer against Pinhead, and she really holds her own. I mean, this is the first one, and quite frankly, whether you like the films or not, because they are kind of goofy to an extent, but the look of them, like I said, is amazing. And specifically, Pinhead and the rest of the Cenobites, they look incredible. And if those things showed up near me in the same state, I'd be terrified. So she really does a good job of portraying the fear angle and the I don't really care. I'm going to tell you off and how it is. It's a really really good job. She does a really good job. It was a very good introduction to her and a very good first role. Good casting. But yeah, so um, the whole thing, and like I said, the Cenobites, they don't. It's all about. I mean, he says it throughout the whole series, but I mean, Pinhead, he always says, it's about flesh, and there's only pain, and it's never about. Now, granted, you do tend to see the bad things happen, like the people getting taken over. You do tend to see them be bad guys, but as you can see in this film, Ashley Lawrence actually is able to um, convince them to take somebody else who's actually evil, because they come out and they just want flesh and blood, like they always say, and they happen to get Ashley Lawrence, but she's like, wait, I can convince you, and I can find you somebody else. And so they are willing to negotiate, so you can tell that they're not just um, I think that they, and it's never been said or not, at least not that I remember in the rest of the series, but I think that they like worse people, because you got to think they are going to hell. They're taking them to hell. I think they want, an army for Satan or whatever. So I think that they like to get worse people, either that or well, to either help the satanic army or to just make more people suffer with them. I don't know which it is, but I do tend to think they like worse people. But you know, uh, so there, yes, little content warning outside of the blood and guts and cussing. Of course, it's a horror film, you fools. There is actually full frontal nudity, men and women. So yes, Matt, there are full frontal men in this film. If you're watching, um, but yeah, so just the little nudity thing, and I don't think that was common for the '80s. I think I've mentioned that before in another review, but anyway, but there the reason that they're actually after um, the lead guy's character is because he escaped hell, and they're actually looking for him, but they're obviously willing to take bargains and things like that. Um, but we see the reason that Ashley Lawrence was willing to give him up. A, he's a prick and he's a bad guy. But B, we see that Frank is his name, has actually taken over her dad's body. So, and I gotta admit, the first time I watched this film, I didn't really understand that point. I just remember later that uh, Andrew Robinson was acting funny. I remember being like, what is going on with him? Like, and then I was like, well, maybe he's just, he's they're close to hell or what, I don't know, but something's going on. But then I watched it this time and was like, oh, duh. I don't know how it's me. I don't know how I missed it, but I did. But yeah, it's just, cool. It was really fun to watch that this time and understand it a little bit more. But so there's this homeless guy at some point in the film, and I swear, especially nowadays, it looked like Aaron Rodgers. He had the big facial hair and stuff like that, but I'm like, I did, it obviously wasn't, but I had to do the double take, and I'm like, is that Aaron Rodgers? Because like at this point, he probably would have been like, I don't know, 19, and this guy wasn't, but it really looked like it was him with a bad wig on. uh, but so it's just a very very I mean, I don't know if I ever really used the word powerful for a horror film before, but it is not in its meaning or anything, but just in the imagery and the what it's giving you, what it's throwing at you. I mean, because the one thing about this, it's kind of a slow burn at first, not like boring or anything like that. Don't get me wrong. I mean, it's a great film, but it is kind of a slow burn. But once things get rolling, it's like the freaking dominoes go, and it's just a nonstop, and especially when you see later on, like I said, I think most of the stuff in this were practical effects, and when you see the creature makeup and all that later on, you're just gonna like lose your mind, because they look cool to the naked eye anyway, but then when you know that, oh, those are practical effects and that's real, puppets or whatever they used, it's just absolutely outstanding. And I really just don't think that I don't think it's been really matched since in some ways, especially to make them look consistently that well. I mean, you got to think this is from 1987, and it's still we're here in 2022, and it still looks awesome. So I think that's just a testament to the creator of the makeup. And wouldn't you know it, I didn't get his name because I'm a fool, or her name. I don't know actually, but I need to get one of those. If you guys have ever seen I think it's Hollywood Squares with Gilbert Gottfried. He every time that Gilbert Gottfried is um, able to get his partner to answer the question, he goes, "You fool!" I think I need one of those for me every time. I'm like, "Oh, I should have researched that." Blah blah blah. Uh, oh, that'd be funny. Maybe I get my brother just to yell it at me, randomly. Anyway, but they yeah, so so back to the CGI, or with the practical effects, like the Cenobites look dope. Those things look, they are, I mean, there's no question about it. There's no, you know they're based on like S&M kind of demon ripped up hell priests. I mean, they have like the bondage suits and stuff going on, but they look incredible. It's a very unique concept. It has not been done since, or at least not been done well since, and it was not done before. So this really was a game changer for so many things to come out. The story was original. The look of the villains was original. Well, maybe not villains, like I said. They're not they're not villains. They're just looking after their escaped prisoner. So I guess technically they're not bad guys. But yeah, they definitely look freaking awesome. So there's this one part where they're at the hospital when Ashley Lawrence is there, and I look over, I'm like, was that Lionel Richie? I'm like, was Lionel Richie a freaking doctor in a past life? I swear it's him. I'm just waiting. He's like sitting there, and I'm waiting for him to come in the next room and be like, "Hello." um, but yeah, it really did. It looked identical to him. It was, yeah, it was so funny to see that. But there yeah, so this all starts by, it's all an accident really, because Ashley or Claire Higgins really isn't even um, intending initially to do this, but it all starts off because Andy Robinson's walking by and gets his hand cut on a nail, and it just seeps. Well, I will say this: it's a little too much blood, I think. I mean, I'm saying in a practical sense of, if you excuse me, if you cut your hand the way he did, don't get me wrong, it would hurt and you'd be bleeding, but it starts like gushing blood, and I think it's a little much for a reality, situation. But in this film, it's fine, and that's actually what seeps down and kind of wakes Frank up, because he's thirsting for blood, and that's actually what this whole kind of plot is. In a weird sense, it's kind of a twisted love story. It really is. Maybe I should have done this one for Valentine's Day. But Claire Higgins' character, you find out, was having an affair with her brother-in-law, who is Frank, who is the guy that gets reanimated back to life. And so his brother cuts his hand, drops the blood, gets it, and it starts waking him up. Well, so Frank, the guy that escaped from hell, is now talking to Claire Higgins' character, and they're talking, like reminiscing about their affair days and all that kind of stuff. And he pretty much is like, will you kill for me? And she's like, yeah, I still love you that much. it actually reminds me, and I think this is where they got the inspiration from, but I hadn't seen this film yet, but I was watching it again and it clicked. There's the episode of South Park where Butters comes back from, well, the dead. I think it's Butters' very own episode. And so his family thinks he's dead, but then when he shows up, they of course just think he's a zombie monster or whatever. And they start bringing him food in the base, or well, they go get human bodies and start bringing them to him in the basement. And it's funny in itself, but like, looking back now, I think it might be kind of an homage to Hellraiser, and that's just even funnier because just imagine Butters as living in the same worlds as the Cenobites. Oh my gosh, I just don't know what to do. I'm gonna go get some people and send them back to hell. You know what I mean? That'd be so great. But yeah, it's so like I said, I picked up on that, and I just the film is just, it really was, I think, an inspiration for a lot of films that have you know preceded it, succeeded it, sorry. uh I just don't think that they maybe had the, not nerve, like in the sense of like, oh, you don't have the guts, but I mean, maybe some people thought of these ideas, like, because like I said, this is based off a book of Clive Barker. So well, maybe, I don't know, actually, maybe he just decided, this is my thing, I'm going to do it. Maybe nobody even attempted to, but if they had, and this wasn't Clive Barker's production, I feel like it's kind of a, I haven't read the book, but if the novel's anything like the film, which I'm presuming it is, I mean, he probably changed some stuff just maybe because he wanted to, but I'd say the overall story is. So if you'd read this, you, like I said, I mean, I do believe it is a twisted love story. I don't think that makes it a good thing, but I do think that it's a fear to an extent, but I think that Claire Harrigan is in love with Sean Chapman, and I think that she wants to see Frank come back, and so I think what she does, even though it is fear inducing, I do think she does it out of love initially, or even continuously. Um, but yeah, I just don't. It's a very, anyway. So I don't, like I said, I don't know if that's in the novel. I really don't know how much. I just know that. But like I said, even if it wasn't, it's okay to change because it was Clive Barker that did this. So I mean, no matter what, if it's based on if he actually based it completely off his original story, I mean, obviously he did, but to the extent of putting every little detail, it's great. If not, it's still great because he can do what he wants. It's like when so many people give George Lucas crap for episodes 1, 2, and 3 about how oh well, he just messed it up and blah blah blah. Well, I don't agree. But if that's what you think, then it is his to mess up. It's not like he's taking an adaptation and making it, the way he wants to because he wants to. It's his work. It's his baby. Star Wars was his. And in this case, the Hellbound Heart, that's Clive Barker. So he can do whatever he wants with it. We don't have to like it. However, I do love this film. But like I said, I don't know. I just don't know the logistics of the comparing it to the novel. I don't really know where we're at and is it good or not. But I don't know. Final thoughts on the film. I definitely recommend it. It was a lot better than I remembered it being because it wasn't because I had seen this film for the first time, like, I don't know, 3 years ago maybe. And when I first watched it, I liked it, but I kind of I didn't get into the acting necessarily because some of it is a little campy. But like I said, it's kind of like an Eli Roth film in that it's part of the charm. So I don't even mind it at this time watching it, but as far as an overall film, it's incredible, quite frankly. I mean, it's got to be your cup of tea, but like I said, it's my cup of tea, obviously, and I think it's just absolutely fantastic. I know that the rest of the series kind of went a little more downhill with production and different things like that, but regardless, this is the beginning, and this, I think, if I was an investor, I'd absolutely be like, yeah, I want to invest in that. Because like I said, at the end of the day, it is a twisted love story. I mean, it's not just a horror film. And when it is a horror film, it's actually scary. It's not just bloody and gutty and all that. It's definitely, I mean, there's definitely like gruesomeness to it, but it's 100% just, it's just great, guys. Like I said, I really can't say any more to think about it. So What have you got? What do you guys think? Have you seen it? What are your thoughts on it? Maybe you just think it's a big, gross, disgusting S&M fest, and I guess you wouldn't be wrong because, like I said, he did base it off of S&M looks, the Cenobites and all that. So, and it might not be for you, but like I said, for me, I do think it's incredible, especially still holding up. This long. Like I said, it's 1987, and it still holds up very, very well, especially the effects. There's only one effect that I will say is not great, and it's not terrible. It's just in comparison. So, whenever spoilers, they whenever Ashley Lawrence gets the box and she hits the button, all of the Cenobites and the Hell people have to go back to Hell. Which, okay, fine, but when they do. I don't know if you guys have seen Children of the Corn, the original, but the part where Malachi is being like hung up on the corn maze cross or whatever it is, and then the whatever creature that thing is comes at him and takes him over, and it's that really crummy CGI effect of like it's the red like it just looks like a bacteria getting him. That's kind of what happens with um the Cenobites when they go back to Hell, and it's not bad enough like or anything to make me be like ugh, but it's just in the film where the effects are so incredible, especially for practical effects. Maybe that's what it is. Maybe it's I saw the CGI and I'm like, oh, that's CGI, but it actually isn't that great. But once again, it's kind of like the acting. It's kind of part of the charm with it. So I'm not gonna fault it for that. It's just something that it's just a little bit of a, but nothing. Like I said, nothing ruins it. But yeah, guys. So, with that being said, I think I'm going to give this one a perfect 10 because it is a great film for doing what it does. Like I said, I love the campiness of it. And it's not like we're not talking like Eli Roth's well, anything really, but specifically, we're not talking Eli Roth's Cabin Fever. It's not like we're not getting little kids karateing over pancakes and ooh feast or anything like that. It's just very it just can't be compared to a lot of other films that have that are recent and that have been out, and now horror is this big thing. But that's the one thing too about it. Horror is allowed to be fun, guys. It doesn't have to just be this big scary thing. I mean, look at Happy Death Day. You know what I mean? I talked about it, and it's just a fun film. And in that one, it's the same way. It has that kind of the goofy mask that I don't really like, but you forgive it because it's a good film. And in this, in the spirit of that, I will forgive the Children of the Corn looking CGI effect because it is just a fun film, and it is actually a great film, quite frankly. But anyway, let me know what you guys think in the comments. If you've read the book, let me know if it's a good adaptation or not. Because, like I said, I haven't, and I'm actually pretty curious of that without trying to spoil myself. But yeah, I definitely recommend it. It is available on Amazon Prime, I think. Did I write that down? Yes, I did. Cool. I'm awesome. Yes, it's available on Amazon Prime. That's all I found. But yeah, it's available in there for free. I definitely recommend checking it out this Halloween or just anytime. But maybe check it out in February. Like I said, it's romance. But anyway, guys, thanks for watching. Like and subscribe. Tell your friends, and I will be back with another review with the unfortunate winding down of Halloween month. But not to fear, my friends. I will still keep you entertained as always. So, yeah, take it easy, guys. Be back with another one soon.